Welcome back. Today we're talking about something near and dear to my heart: plants. Specifically, the weird, glowing, occasionally screaming plants that have popped up since the world decided to have a really bad day. Check out our merch. Use the discount code YouTube, link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. Now, before the bombs fell, I was what you might call a hobbyist gardener. I had tomatoes, beautiful tomatoes. They did not glow. They did not hiss when you touched them. They certainly did not try to grab my ankle when I walked past. Times have changed, my friends. Times have changed. So why do plants mutate in radioactive zones? Great question. I'm so glad the voices in my head asked. See, radiation damages DNA. That's the little instruction manual inside every living cell that tells it how to do its job. When that manual gets scrambled, cells start improvising. Sometimes that means the plant dies. Sometimes it means the plant develops. Oh, I don't know, a taste for blood. We'll get to that one later. Fun times. The point is, evolution that used to take thousands of years is now happening in months. Plants are adapting to radiation exposure, contaminated soil, lack of sunlight, and frankly, a complete absence of anyone caring about their emotional needs. The result: botanical chaos. Beautiful, terrifying, potentially delicious botanical chaos. Let's talk about what makes these new plants tick, or glow, or occasionally explode. First up, radiation resistance. Some plants have developed the ability to actually absorb and process radioactive particles. Their cells have mutated to repair DNA damage faster than it occurs. These plants often have an unusual metallic sheen to their leaves, like someone spray painted them with chrome. We call these chrome leaves in my settlement. Other settlements call them different things. One group calls them Steve. I don't know why. I didn't ask. Next, unusual coloration. Forget green is so pre-apocalypse. Now we've got plants in electric blue, deep purple, bright orange, and my personal favorite, a color I can only describe as angry pink. This happens because radiation affects chlorophyll production and triggers the creation of new pigments. Some of these pigments help the plant absorb different wavelengths of light. Others seem to exist purely to make the wasteland look like a fever dream. Then there's bioluminescence. Yes, glowing plants. They're real. They're everywhere. And they are simultaneously the most beautiful and most suspicious things in the wasteland. The glow comes from chemical reactions inside the plant, usually involving compounds that help neutralize radiation damage. Think of it as the plant sweating out its problems, except the sweat is visible light. Romantic, isn't it? Rapid growth is another big one. Some mutant plants can grow several feet in a matter of days. I once watched a vine grow 6 inches while I was eating lunch. I was eating lunch for maybe 20 minutes. That vine had ambition. These fast growers are usually trying to outpace radiation damage by constantly producing new tissue. It's exhausting just watching them. Finally, defensive traits. Oh boy, this is where things get spicy. Some plants have developed thorns that can punch through leather. Others produce caustic sap that'll burn your skin faster than you can say, "Why did I touch that?" A few have evolved to release clouds of spores when disturbed, and there's one species, I'm not making this up, that vibrates aggressively when you get close. Like an angry rattlesnake, but a bush. I call it the anxiety shrub. It's not dangerous, just deeply unsettling. Alright, here's the million-cap question. How do you know if a mutant plant is going to feed you, heal you, or send you to whatever afterlife you believe in? Let's start with edibility. Rule number 1, and this is important. Just because a plant looks like something edible from before doesn't mean it is. I once found what looked exactly like a carrot. Beautiful orange color, leafy green top, the whole package. Bit into it. It tasted like copper and regret. Also, my tongue was numb for 3 days. Not recommended. Signs a plant might be edible include a lack of strong chemical odor, no visible secretions or oozing, wildlife actually eating it without dying, and a texture that doesn't feel like it's actively rejecting your touch. That last one is important. If a plant feels wrong, it probably is wrong. Toxic plants usually advertise they're often brightly colored in warning patterns, reds and yellows especially. They smell sharp or acrid. They have visible residue on their surfaces, and sometimes, I swear, they seem to lean toward you when you get close. That's not your imagination. Some of them actually do that. Run. Medicinal plants are trickier to identify, but they tend to have aromatic properties, pleasant, or at least not offensive smells. Many have thick, gel-filled leaves, similar to pre-war aloe. Some produce visible antiseptic compounds that foam slightly when exposed to wounds. I found one that numbs pain on contact. I use it every time I stub my toe, which is constantly, because the wasteland is full of rubble. Flammable plants are both useful and terrifying. They often have a slightly oily texture and smell faintly of chemicals. Their dried leaves catch fire incredibly easily. Great for starting campfires. Less great when you're storing them in your shelter and someone knocks over a candle. Don't ask me how I know this. Adhesive plants are my personal favorites. They produce sticky sap that can be used to patch gear, seal containers, or in a pinch, trap small animals. You can usually identify them by the unfortunate insects stuck to their surfaces. If a plant looks like it's wearing a coat made of dead bugs, congratulations, you've found nature's glue factory. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I actually test these plants without dying? Excellent question. Let me share some of my field observations. Experiment 1. I found a lovely purple flowering plant near an old gas station. Beautiful blooms, very aesthetic. Would have looked great in a pre-war garden. I tossed a pebble at it to see what would happen. The flower closed instantly, and the entire plant shuddered. Then it opened back up, and the flower had rotated to face me, just staring, judging. I left that one alone. Experiment 2. Discovered a patch of moss that glowed bright green at night. Fascinating stuff. I poked it with a stick. The glow intensified dramatically, like I'd offended it personally. Then the stick started smoking. Apparently the moss releases some kind of thermal reaction when disturbed. That stick is gone now, vaporized. The moss seemed satisfied. Experiment 3. Found a vine system with unusual red leaves. Dropped some water on it to see the reaction. The vine twitched. And then every vine in about a 10-foot radius twitched, in unison, like they were all connected, like they were communicating. I backed away slowly while maintaining aggressive eye contact. We have an understanding now. Experiment for located a tall-stemmed plant with what appeared to be seed pods. I waited until one of the pods fell naturally and observed it from a safe distance. It hit the ground and released a cloud of spores that smelled intensely of burned sugar. Pleasant, actually. Too pleasant. Suspiciously pleasant. I held my breath and retreated. Later found out those spores cause vivid hallucinations for about 6 hours. Would have been a wild afternoon. The point of these experiments is this: observe first, interact second, and always have an exit strategy. Speaking of not dying, let's talk safety. Airborne spores are your biggest invisible threat. You can't always see them, you can't always smell them, and by the time you realize you've inhaled something weird, you're already composing poetry about the beauty of radiation burns. Not ideal. Makeshift filtration masks are essential. Any cloth wrapped around your face is better than nothing. Multiple layers are better than one. If you can find charcoal from burned wood, crushing it up and putting it between cloth layers creates a surprisingly effective filter. It won't stop everything, but it'll stop a lot. Never touch unknown plants with bare skin. Use sticks, tools, or, if you're desperate, wrap your hands in extra fabric. I once touched a fuzzy-looking leaf with my finger because it looked soft. It was soft. It was also coated in microscopic needles that delivered a neurotoxin. My arm was tingly for a week. 0 stars, do not recommend. Testing plants without touching them involves dropping water on them, observing their reaction to heat by holding a flame nearby but not touching, checking how wildlife interacts with them, and most importantly, waiting. Watch a plant for at least a full-day cycle if you can. Some plants behave very differently at night. Some only release their toxins at certain times. Patience might save your life, and please do not lick anything. I know it's tempting. You found something that looks like a berry, and your stomach is growling, and your brain is saying, maybe it's fine. Your brain is wrong. Your brain is trying to kill you. Do not lick the mystery plants. So, funny story, and by funny, I mean horrifying at the time, but hilarious in retrospect. I was conducting what I thought was a very safe, very controlled observation of a new plant species. Bulbous shape, pale blue coloration, soft pulsing glow, beautiful specimen. I was keeping my distance. I was being responsible. Then I sneezed. Apparently, this particular plant interprets vibrations as a threat, and when it feels threatened, it defends itself. By exploding, not like fire explosion, spore explosion. A massive cloud of glittering particles erupted from the bulb and absolutely engulfed me, covered every inch. I looked like a sad disco ball having a panic attack. I immediately stopped breathing, which was smart. Then I ran, which was less smart because running kicks up more spores. I threw myself into a nearby creek, which was smart again. Then I realized I'd dropped my pack near the plant, which meant I had to go back after the spore cloud settled. The plant had deflated completely, looked like a sad balloon. I almost felt bad for it. Then I remembered it had just tried to turn my lungs into a mushroom farm, and my sympathy evaporated. The moral of this story is that even when you're being careful, plants will find a way to surprise you. Always have water nearby. Always know your escape routes. And maybe, just maybe, take allergy medicine if you can find any. Can't sneeze if your nasal passages are chemically suppressed. That's just science. Now for the fun part. Using these botanical nightmares for actual survival purposes, fuel is a big one. Many mutant plants produce oils and resins that burn incredibly well. The problem is extracting them safely. I've found that letting plant material dry completely in the sun, away from your living space, makes it much safer to handle. The dried material often burns longer and cleaner than pre-war firewood. Some of it burns weird colors too, which is great for morale. Nothing lifts spirits like a green campfire. Fire starters, as I mentioned, come from those flammable plants. A small pouch of dried leaves from the right species can start a fire, even in damp conditions. I carry some everywhere. It's like having matches that grow on trees, because it literally is that. Adhesives from sticky plants can patch clothing, repair water containers, seal wounds in a pinch, and create traps. I once repaired a hole in my boot using nothing but plant sap and desperation, held up for 3 months. That's better than some pre-war glue. Medicinal applications are where things get really interesting. I've found plants that fight infection, reduce swelling, numb pain, and one that seems to actually accelerate wound healing. That last one is creepy to watch. Very effective though. These plants could be the foundation of wasteland medicine if we study them properly. Water storage is possible with certain thick-stemmed plants that naturally store liquid. You can tap them carefully and drain clean, or at least cleaner water. Always filter it anyway, but in an emergency, these plants can be lifesavers. Salves and poultices made from ground plant material can treat burns, rashes, and minor wounds. The key is knowing which plants to use and testing on a small area first. I learned this after making a salve that was supposed to soothe burns and instead turned my arm bright orange for 2 weeks. Still not sure what happened there. So here we are, at the end of another journey through the wonderful world of things that might kill you, but might also save your life. The wasteland is full of dangers. We all know this. Raiders, radiation, mutated creatures that definitely weren't that size before. But in the middle of all that chaos, there's also opportunity. And sometimes that opportunity looks like a weird glowing plant that hums when the wind blows. In the apocalypse, even weird glowing plants can be your best friends. They can feed you, heal you, light your way through dark ruins, and give your settlement something beautiful to look at in a world that's become pretty ugly. They represent life adapting, refusing to give up, finding a way forward no matter what. Of course, they can also be your last mistake. One wrong bite, one unprotected breath, one moment of carelessness, and you're another cautionary tale for the next survivor to find. But that's the wasteland, isn't it? Everything is both a threat and an opportunity. Everything depends on knowledge, caution, and a healthy respect for things you don't fully understand. So stay curious, my friends. Stay cautious. Keep experimenting, but keep your distance. And remember, in a world where everything is trying to kill you, the weirdest things might just be the key to staying alive. I'm going to go check on that pulsing vine that's been growing near my shelter. It's probably fine. It's definitely fine. It's almost certainly fine. Until next time, survivors, keep thriving.